Hi, and welcome to the Bible study that is associated with the message, How to Help the Discouraged. What I would like to do during this session is I would like to tell you 3 ways in which that you can overcome discouragement or to be able to help others to do so. I'm going to use a synopsis, if I can, of 3 life events, and then let you dig deeper with the study questions to follow. There are 3 hints that I would give to you during this session, and the first one is this. If you want to help somebody who's discouraged, what you need to do is you need to help them find a good mentor. Help them find a good mentor. During the time of the Judges, we're reminded that a famine had driven Elimelech and his family into the nation of Moab. While he was there, his boys took Moabite wives. The Bible tells us that soon after, both Elimelech and his 2 boys passed away. His widow Naomi decided to return to Israel to be with her family. As a mother-in-law, Naomi had been a godly example for both Ruth and for Orpah. Naomi directed the girls to return, but Ruth instead chose to go to Israel to be with Naomi. Ruth was on the verge of losing her husband. She was on the verge of losing her family, and she was on the verge of losing her very country. She was, I'm sure, a very discouraged person with a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. For the rest of Naomi's life, Naomi became a mentor for Ruth during some of her most challenging times. Through the implementation of the law of the kinsman redeemer, a law by which when a man died, a near relative would then marry a woman in order to keep the family name alive, Ruth was able to marry a relative of her husband's, have a son, and then beyond her wildest dreams, and that's something that she wouldn't even find out till heaven, that she was able to become part of the line of Christ. If you want to be able to help a discouraged person, one of the best things that you can do is to help them to find a good mentor or to be a good mentor to them. There's a second helpful hint that I'd like to suggest to you as far as helping discouraged people, and that is this. You need to help them to find the rest, you need to help them to recharge, and or you need to help them find a recommission for their lives. One of the things we're going to have you do is look at 1 Kings chapter 17, 18, and 19. And what you'll find in there is that the prophet Elijah in those 3 chapters were confronted by 2 very strong issues going on in his life. One was a set of emotional issues, one was a set of physical issues. Emotionally, he confronted Ahab with the prediction of no rain. He went to the king, the ruler, told them there'd be no rain because of his sinfulness. He lived in hiding by the brook Cherith, being fed by birds, with the uncertainty, even though it was God providing, I'm sure, some uncertainty every day emotionally. What's going to happen? Am I going to get food today? He lived in hiding after that with the widow near Sidon, way to the north, far away from his people. He met with Ahab and called him a troublemaker to his face, demanding a meeting with the prophets. He battled with the prophets on top of Mount Carmel in what I'm sure was a very emotional all-day affair. It resulted in him presiding over the killing of 850 prophets. All of these things that if we just simply gloss over them too quickly end up being nothing to us, but very emotional events. And then followed by which he was given 24 hours to live by Ahab. A death sentence was passed on. Physically, we know from these chapters that just in these chapters alone, at one point, he had to outrun Ahab back to the capital. That's fine, except Ahab was in a chariot and he was on foot, and it required a distance of 17 miles. He ran 90 miles south to Beersheba. He walked along after that for a full day, the Bible says. He fell asleep and was fed. He was given water by an angel of the Lord 2 or 3 times, because then he was required to return back to Mount Sinai. That feat in and of itself was a distance by, if you took the normal roads, probably as much as 420 miles. It required a 7,000-foot climb to the top of Mount Sinai. And it took him 40 days with apparently no food for this journey. There's a third thing, though, that I think that we can do for those who are going through times of discouragement, and that is this. We can find someone for them that they can relate to. Paul the Apostle wrote a letter to the Philippians. He wrote in this letter with a predominant theme of joy. The reason that that's kind of ironic is because the Apostle Paul wrote this from prison. He wrote it to a people who had as a primary memory of Paul in their lives him being jailed in their own city. And it was hard, I'm sure, for them to imagine what he had gone through, except for the fact that they were as well going through great times of difficulty. Do you know why Paul's ministry, Paul's letter meant so much to them? It involved somebody that could relate to them. In the study time that's going to follow, what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to just get a little bit deeper. Hardly any time to be able to do that during this session, or to give it justice. But we want you to think about the impact that a good mentor can have as you look at a couple of questions from the life of Ruth. We want you to be able to think about the impact of just taking somebody who's discouraged and maybe saying to them, hey, you know what? Maybe before you make any major life choices or life decisions, or maybe what you need to just do is you just need to get away. You need to get some sleep. You need to get some rest. You need to get recharged. Maybe somebody who went through a major situation, a major job change or something like that, and to help them to look at their recommissioning that they're about to experience. The last thing that also we can do to help discourage people is to help them find somebody who can relate to what it is that they're going through. Paul, a prisoner. So I'm excited about the things that you can see, the things that you'll be able to study, the things that you'll be able to walk away with understanding just a little bit more, because what our goal is to help those who are discouraged. At the end of this, why don't you ask God to make sure that you have an impact, to ensure that you have an impact in a positive way in the hearts and lives of somebody, even this week. Thanks so much for your time.